Hey, this is Berto from Sling Paint Gaming. Welcome back, and we're going to be doing... I told you I said I was going to do it. A sister ship to that Millennium Falcon ship, that design I did. I actually did a YT-2400 freighter, and I had some fun with this one. You want to learn what I did? Stay tuned. Alright, welcome back. Alright, so the YT-2400 class Carillion ship. So if you guys remember, I did the Millennium Falcon. Well, it's not the Millennium Falcon anymore, but I did a YT-1300 class ship, and I wanted to make a sister ship. So sometimes I play this list together, and I have some fun with it. So I said, you know what, let me make two ships exactly the same color scheme, and that's what I did. So the same colors that I used on the YT-1300 or the Millennium Falcon, I used on here, and you can kind of see all the different things I did on this ship. And I kind of went a lot of details. I had some fun with it. And here's the bottom. Let me pull the peg out so you can see the bottom. And you can kind of see all the different things that I did. Again, I just had some fun with it. It was, like I said, it's pretty cool. So first thing I did, I used the Formula P3 white primer. Basically spray painted it. Did a couple layers of it, spray painted it. I didn't strip the paint or nothing off this original model. I just basically painted right over what was what was there, and you can still see there is a lot of detail still left. So some of the biggest things I hear a lot of worry about is like you use spray paint, or if you spray it over, or if you don't strip the paint, you lose a detail. I did not lose any detail whatsoever. You can still see a lot of the detail on this ship. And so what I did was I took a couple coats of this, spray painted it, and I took my time on the base coat. I did not want to botch it up or get runs or anything. I sprayed off of it, went stream straight across, and just continued to do that all around the ship. The cool thing was I actually took a skewer. So some people ask, like, well, how do you paint it without holding it? So I took a skewer, kind of like how the peg goes in here on the bottom. I actually took a skewer from that you use for cooking, like if you're doing shish kebabs. I cut the end of the skewer just so I still had enough to wedge in that hole in the bottom. And I wedged it really good, and I held it. And I had a long skewer that held a stick. And I was just using that and spray painting it all the different angles that I needed to get me that base white. And then what I did after that was, actually before I did that, I took the turrets off. Actually, the turrets are the original color, if you see that, except for the copper that I added on the top there just a little bit. But the turrets actually come right off. And if you basically, what you do is if you grab the turret and just do a twisting action, back and forth, your turret will actually, if you keep working at it, come right off. Alright, I'll leave the turret off because I'm going to show you the window and how I did the windows. Alright, so what I did, spray painted it white, took the turrets off, and then I went to town on this thing. And then basically, kind of the same paints that I used on the Falcon. I used no oil. Before I did an oil, the first thing I did, it was actually the Caribberg Crimson. That was actually the paint that I used to paint all those colors. Now, why does this look a little pinkish? A couple of reasons. One, when I was first doing a base coat, right, and you do a base coat, and this is a shade. Okay, this is not a layered paint, so it's very transparent. It's supposed to be like a shadow. And I was going to do like 2 or 3 coats with it, but when I was doing the first coat on the Falcon, my daughter came in and she's like, Daddy, I like that. The ship is pink. And I just kind of stuck with it, and she liked it. So when I did the same paint job to this ship, I did the same exact thing. I did the 1 coat and just had some fun with it. And then what I did was I actually took the null oil and went to town on this ship, all over the ship, even on the Crimson. Because you can actually see on the Crimson, it's darker on that. And you got the darker colors in the cracks and crevices. That's what you want. When the null oil gets in the cracks and crevices, it darkens them up. I mean, that's why it's like Liquid Expert. Like I always say this, it's like Liquid Expert in a jar. You can't mess it up. Same thing, then I took some Agrax Earthshade, right? And just painted some highlights here and there, right? And I just had some fun to add some rust to it. And then what I did was, before I did anything else, I actually took some Praxi White. This is a dry paint. This is the dry paint. Remember I told you this is the thick brush that you use? If you watched the Falcon episode, I was telling you about how to do this. Very, very little paint on the brush. You dab it all the way off because it's dry paint. It's not liquid paint. When you put it in there, it's very clumpy, right? And the whole thing is you take it and you kind of just get, you know, as thin as possible as you want on that brush. Very, very thin. There's like no liquid in that paint. It's almost all pigment and that's it, you know, just a color. And then what I did was I highlighted certain areas, but you can also see right there in the front, I actually kind of like I hit something, and I did it on both the bottom and top, and kind of dragged it out. Then I took some Agrax Earthshade to kind of add like a rust feel to it, and just kind of did, you know, pulled it through on both sides, top and bottom. The yellow that's on there is actually another shade. When I covered the whole thing with the null oil, all these parts and pieces that, like with the yellow, were dark. Not dark, but dark enough. I mean, they were tint of gray. I then just basically took my brush, put some Consandora yellow. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Some Consandora yellow, and basically just took a fine brush and just painted some of the things that are yellow, even on the bottom. You can kind of see the things I painted yellow. I had some fun with that. And then some of the... there's really no red on this ship compared to the Falcon, but there is the Hashut copper. Okay, that's all the copper piping that's on this. In some areas, I also painted copper, even on the front and on the undercarriage. You can see all the copper. I mean, I basically even inside, you can see all the pipes in there. All right, that's all done with that Hashut copper. It's a very, very fine brush. Kind of like the Falcon, I use this brush, which is the Army Painter brush. It's a Wargamer detailed brush. It's very, very fine. Inexpensive. You can see the price on it. It's only $5. Worth its weight in gold. And the whole thing is you're not going like this in and current. I mean, you're barely touching those pipes to get that color and look and feel. Even the top parts where I painted the copper as well. The engine, same exact way I did the Falcon. I took basically the Lothern Blue, right? That's a layered paint, so I mean, it's like putting paint on, and I painted it all around, and you can see the darker outside. That's because of the null oil, and then everything where it's white, again, taking some of that Praxi White, that dry brush, and just brushing it on. Now the engines on this one's a little bit different compared to the Falcon. I mean, you can see the original Falcon. It's like a different weird engine bay. But again, I just had some fun with it. Also, on the bottom, the exhaust ports, I painted them with another layer of the null oil just to give them a darker feel to it, so it looks like exhaust, kind of just like they did with the Falcon. You can see the exhaust lines coming out. And again, it's just like kind of like the original Falcon. You can see the exhaust lines. And that's basically null oil. I took null oil and went like this, and just made layers to it. Very simple. The only thing that's I did on here that you can see is if you see the window, this is actually a window, turret window. There's one on the bottom, one on the top. That window down there, I did it the same way I did the Falcon window. I did it basically, where is it? Here it is. Whoop, dropping paints here. I took the Formula P3, and this is an actual mixing medium. This is not, again, like I said before, it's not a medium to thin out your paint or to take paint off. It's actually a mixing medium. This is actually adds gloss, okay? Adds gloss to your paint, and you can see it's a little bit glossy. And you can see it's dark around the edges and a little bit duller in the middle area, right? I even did it on the cockpit a little bit. The whole thing I did with this, I took some null oil, took my brush, you know, soaked it up pretty good in there, put it on my little plate that I have where I mix my paints, and you can see a big glob of null oil. Took 2 or 3 drops of this, put it right in there, mixed it up. It came a little hazy and a little whitish, like a little filmy-ish, and a little bit thicker. And I'm basically just taking my brush and just, having a lot of paint on the brush and just letting let the paint soak into the areas. And I just whoop, each window. And it became this film. And you can see it, it's like really thick. And I just let it dry. And it dried where it added a gloss like its windows. Very simple. The turrets, after I was done with the turrets, I'm actually putting this turret back on. Again, the whole thing with the turrets, and the cool part is I'm pointing the turrets off-centered a little bit. like it's shooting at something else. And that's okay, because guess what? I like it. It works for me, and it's my model. It's different. I had a lot of fun with it, and you can kind of see that the two ships match each other very well. Same look and feel. So when I run these two ships together as a list, I can have some fun with it. And again, this looks like they're sister ships, or the same faction, or sub-faction, I should say, because these are both rebel ships. So same, maybe some of the same planet. I don't know. I mean, I was just having fun with it. And again, like I said, my daughter really liked it because I was doing the I did the, it's pink. It was supposed to be crimson red originally, but I left it the pink color. I did the one color, and it really came out nice, and I liked it. And again, you could see the damage area. You can see the highlights. Again, that's that dry brushing. And you can also, if you can catch right here, you can see that shrieks. And that's the shrieks of the earth shade, the Agrax earth shade. That's just me taking my brush, not that much paint on the brush, and just dragging it. And it creates like these rust effects. And like I said, it's not perfect. And I love it. But anyway, this is, like I said, that's the ship. Now I got two ships of the same color. I can fly them. I'll create a list for these two and have some fun with it. And I'll take it to the next time I do some gaming at the store, at the hobby shop. All right. Again, this is another edition of Slink Paint. If you guys like what I did here, like the video, share it. If you want to share it to with your friends and you have some ideas. If you have any questions on what I did or how I painted this, let me know. I mean, it looks, some of my friends I shared this with are like, wow, that looks really professional. It's actually just me taking my time and just having fun with it. And whatever the result was, it happened. And I went with it. And that's the key part about it is if you don't like it, then you don't like it. If you like it and you're having fun with it, who cares what other people think? And it's pink. Pink's my new favorite color. So my daughter says. Again, this is another edition of Slink Paint. Again, like the video, share the video, and if you have any comments, leave them below. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.